A police dog stopped a man from entering an elevator. But what the dog sensed in that split second wasn't just a passing threat. It was a catastrophic secret that would unravel everything. In the next few minutes, you're going to discover exactly what triggered that dog's primal instinct and why one officer's decision in that critical moment would ultimately save lives and expose a conspiracy nobody saw coming. This is the story of how an animal's extraordinary sense of detection prevented disaster. Stay with us. It was 8:47 in the morning when Officer Marcus Daniels stepped into the Riverside corporate tower with Canine Rex by his side. The sun was streaming through the glass doors, casting long shadows across the pristine marble lobby. Everything looked exactly as it always did. Polished, professional, safe. The kind of place where nothing bad ever happened. Officer Daniels had been doing these morning patrols for 3 years. Him and Rex. A routine, a rhythm. Every weekday, same. Time, same building. The security guards knew them by name. The receptionist always had a dog treat ready for Rex. It was comfortable, predictable. The kind of job where you could almost fall asleep on your feet. But Rex wasn't the type of dog that ever truly relaxed. Canine, Rex was a German Shepherd. 5 years old, 85 pounds of pure instinct and training. His coat was a deep tan and black, sleek and well-maintained. His eyes were sharp, always scanning, always alert. He'd been trained by the best handlers in the state, certified in explosive detection, narcotics, and threat assessment. When Rex was on duty, he wasn't just a dog. He was a living, breathing security system with a nose that could detect things the human brain couldn't even comprehend. Officer Daniels scratched behind Rex's ears as they moved through the lobby. "Another day at the office, buddy," he said, his voice calm and routine. Rex's tail wagged slightly, but his nose was already working, processing the familiar sense of the building. The cleaning chemicals from last night, the coffee from the cafe on the second floor, the dozens of people who had already passed through these doors that morning. The lobby was busy, but not chaotic. A few people stood at the security desk, checking in. Others waited by the elevators, coffee cups in hand, scrolling through their phones. The usual morning crowd, the usual morning energy. Everything was normal. Everything was about to change. At 8:52, the glass doors slid open again. A man entered. His name was Tom, though Officer Daniels didn't know that yet. What Officer Daniels noticed first was the walk. Not the confident stride of someone who belonged in this building, but something quicker, more urgent. The kind of walk that suggested Tom had somewhere to be and was already late getting there. Tom was in his mid-30s, wearing a dark gray jacket despite the warm morning. His hair was slightly disheveled, and there was a sheen of sweat on his forehead. He moved directly toward the elevators without checking in at security, without acknowledging anyone. His eyes were fixed straight ahead, but they were moving constantly. Quick, nervous glances to the left, then to the right, then down at his hands. Officer Daniels noticed, not because he was being particularly observant, but because Rex noticed first. The dog's entire body shifted. His ears perked up instantly, rotating toward Tom like satellite dishes locking onto a signal. His pace slowed. His nose lifted slightly, catching something in the air that Officer Daniels couldn't detect. It was subtle, just a change in Rex's demeanor. But it was unmistakable to anyone who knew the dog. Officer Daniels felt the slight tension in the leash. "Easy, Rex," he said quietly, not wanting to make a scene. But he was already watching Tom more carefully now. The man reached the elevator bank and pressed the up button. He stood there, shifting his weight from one foot to the other. His hand went to his jacket pocket, then back out, then to his pocket again. Rex's body remained rigid. It could have been nothing. Rex reacted to dozens of things throughout the day. A person who'd been near drugs hours earlier, someone carrying residual scents from a crime scene, even just the stress pheromones of someone having a bad day. False alarms happened. Officer Daniels knew that. But after 3 years of working with Rex, he'd also learned to trust the dog's instincts. They were right far more often than they were wrong. The elevator doors opened. Tom stepped forward, ready to enter. But Rex didn't move. Officer Daniels felt the leash become taut. The dog had planted his feet firmly on the marble floor, his body creating a physical barrier between Tom and the elevator entrance. It wasn't aggressive, not yet. But it was deliberate. Rex's ears were still forward, his nose working overtime, processing whatever invisible threat he detected. Tom hesitated. He looked down at the dog, then at Officer Daniels. For just a moment, their eyes met. And in that moment, Officer Daniels saw something flash across Tom's face. Fear, panic, desperation. The elevator doors began to close. Tom reached out, as if to hold them open, but Rex shifted his weight, blocking the gap. The doors slid shut. Tom's hand dropped to his side. Officer Daniels' instincts were firing now, too. Something was wrong. Everything about this moment felt wrong. The way Tom was dressed, the way he moved, the nervous energy radiating off him like heat from a fire. And most importantly, the way Rex had reacted. Not with aggression, but with a kind of alert intensity that Officer Daniels had only seen a handful of times in his career. Those times had always meant something serious was about to happen. Tom pressed the elevator button again. He was trying to act casual, but his jaw was clenched. His fingers were flexing and unflexing at his sides. The sweat on his forehead was more pronounced now. Officer Daniels made a decision. He moved closer, keeping Rex on a short leash. "Morning," he said, his voice friendly but with an edge of authority underneath. "How's your day going?" Tom flinched at the sound of his voice. He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he glanced at the elevator doors, then back at Officer Daniels. "Fine," he said finally, his voice tight. "Just heading up to the office." "Which floor?" Officer Daniels asked. 42, Tom replied. Officer Daniels nodded slowly. He didn't know everyone who worked in this building, but he knew the major companies. 42 housed a financial firm and a tech startup. Tom didn't look like he belonged in either one, but that wasn't necessarily proof of anything. The elevator doors opened again. Tom stepped forward once more. And once more, Rex refused to move. This time, the dog's alert was more pronounced. His hackles were rising slightly, not in aggression, but in heightened alert. A low, almost inaudible rumble emanated from his chest. It wasn't a growl, not exactly, but it was close. It was the sound of a dog whose every nerve ending was screaming that something was dangerously wrong. Tom's panic spiked visibly. He looked at Officer Daniels with something between frustration and desperation. "Look, I'm going to be late for work," he said, his voice rising slightly. "Can you just move your dog?" But Officer Daniels wasn't moving anywhere. Because in that moment, he understood something fundamental. Rex wasn't reacting to Tom's nervousness or his suspicious behavior. Dogs could pick up on human stress, sure. But this was different. This was Rex's trained response to a specific threat. This was the dog doing exactly what he'd been trained to do. This was Rex detecting danger. And whatever that danger was, it was connected to the man standing in front of him. Officer Daniels took a breath. The lobby around them had gone quiet. Other people were starting to notice. A few heads turned. The security guards at the desk were watching now. The moment was crystallizing into something bigger than just a routine morning patrol. Tom's eyes darted toward the stairwell. His body tensed, as if he was considering making a run for it. But Officer Daniels was already moving, positioning himself between Tom and any possible escape route. "I need you to step away from the elevator," Officer Daniels said, his voice calm but unmistakably firm. "And I need you to do it right now." Tom's face flushed. His fists clenched. But Officer Daniels had no idea, none whatsoever, that Rex had just prevented him from stepping into an elevator that would have taken him directly to the location of a catastrophe waiting to unfold on the 42nd floor. A catastrophe that would make everything that happened next look like just the beginning of a nightmare that was only getting started. But Officer Daniels had no idea that Rex was about to prevent a catastrophe that would shake the entire building to its core. The moment Officer Daniels gave the command, everything shifted. The casual morning routine evaporated. The lobby transformed from a place of mundane corporate activity into a space charged with tension. And Rex became something more than just a police dog. He became the only thing standing between normalcy and whatever was about to unfold. Tom's jaw clenched. His eyes darted between Officer Daniels and the elevator doors, calculating, assessing, desperately searching for an escape route that didn't exist. The polite facade he'd been wearing, the just heading to work act, crumbled completely. What replaced it was raw panic. "I'm not doing anything wrong," Tom said, his voice shaking. But his body language screamed the opposite. His hands were trembling. His breathing had become shallow and rapid. The sweat that had been on his forehead was now dripping down the side of his face. Rex didn't relax for a second. The dog's entire body was locked in that alert position, front legs slightly spread, weight forward, muscles coiled like springs ready to release. His nose continued to work, processing the air around Tom, pulling in scent molecules that told a story Officer Daniels couldn't read but could absolutely trust. Every fiber of Rex's being was screaming one message. This man is a threat. This man is dangerous. "Step away from the elevator," Officer Daniels repeated, his hand moving to his radio. He was about to call for backup, but he wanted to see what Tom would do first. Sometimes people revealed themselves through their actions. Sometimes panic made people do stupid things. Tom took a step backward, then another. But his eyes remained fixed on the elevator doors, as if they represented his only chance at escape, his only path to completing whatever mission had brought him to this building in the first place. That's when Rex made his move. The dog didn't lunge. He didn't attack. Instead, he maneuvered his body directly in front of the elevator entrance, creating a living barricade. His stance was perfect, shoulders squared, head level, eyes locked on Tom. If Tom wanted to get into that elevator, he would have to go through Rex, and both of them knew that wasn't going to happen. A few people in the lobby had stopped what they were doing now. A woman with a coffee cup paused mid-sip. A man in a suit pulled out his phone, probably thinking about recording. The security guards at the desk were standing up, alert, ready to respond if things escalated further. Tom's desperation was becoming palpable. It was radiating off him like heat, visible in the way his chest heaved, the way his hands shook, the way his eyes kept darting toward the stairwell door on the far side of the lobby. "Look," Tom said, his voice cracking. "I don't know what your dog's problem is, but I'm just trying to get to work. I'm going to be late. My boss is already—" "Your boss is going to have to wait," Officer Daniels interrupted. He was speaking into his radio now, requesting a second officer and giving a description of Tom. The dispatcher's voice crackled back in acknowledgement. Help was on the way. Tom heard the radio transmission. His face went pale. Whatever he'd been planning, whatever he'd been trying to accomplish, the presence of additional police was not part of his agenda. His body tensed even further, and for a moment, just a fraction of a second, Officer Daniels thought Tom was going to make a run for it. But Rex was ready for that too. The dog's muscles were coiled so tightly they seemed to vibrate. If Tom moved toward the stairs, toward any exit, Rex would be on him in an instant. Officer Daniels had trained with Rex long enough to know exactly what the dog was capable of. A German shepherd at full alert, fully trained in threat neutralization, was one of the most formidable forces in law enforcement. Tom would lose that race before it even started. "What did your dog smell on me?" Tom asked suddenly. His voice had changed. The panic was still there, but underneath it was something else now. A kind of desperate curiosity, as if he genuinely didn't understand what had triggered Rex's response. "That's what we're going to find out," Officer Daniels said. He was keeping his distance, keeping the leash short, keeping Rex between himself and Tom. It was a defensive position, but it was also a controlling one. Tom wasn't going anywhere. The lobby had gone almost completely silent now. The morning activity had frozen. Everyone was watching. Everyone was waiting to see what would happen next. Then Tom did something unexpected. He sat down. Right there on the marble floor, Tom lowered himself into a sitting position, his back against the wall near the elevator bank. It was a gesture of surrender, but it was also something else. Something that suggested Tom had given up on escape and was now focused on something different. Damage control, maybe, or preparation for what he knew was coming. Rex's alert level didn't decrease. The dog remained in his blocking position, still watching Tom intently, still processing whatever scent signature had triggered his response in the first place. Officer Daniels kept his hand on his radio, waiting for backup. The seconds stretched out. 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes. In a crisis situation, time moved differently. Minutes felt like hours. The normal rhythm of the day had been completely disrupted. Then the glass doors slid open again, and Officer Sarah Chen entered with her own K9 unit, a Belgian Malinois named Shadow. She took in the scene immediately. Tom sitting on the floor, Rex standing guard, the crowd of onlookers, the tension hanging in the air like humidity before a thunderstorm. "What do we have?" Officer Chen asked, moving quickly to Officer Daniels' side. "Rex alerted on him," Officer Daniels said, nodding toward Tom. "Won't let him near the elevator. Something's definitely wrong." Officer Chen's eyes narrowed. She'd worked with Officer Daniels before. She knew that Rex's alerts were reliable. She also knew that if Rex had detected something, it was serious. "Has he said anything?" "Nothing useful," Officer Daniels replied. "Just claims he's heading to work on the 42nd floor." Officer Chen looked at Shadow, then back at Tom. "We need to search him," she said. Tom's entire body stiffened. His hands, which had been resting on his knees, suddenly clenched into fists. "I haven't done anything," he said, his voice rising. "You can't just search me because your dog doesn't like me." "Actually, we can," Officer Chen said calmly. "A police dog's alert is probable cause, and right now, your dog is very much alerting." She was right. Officer Daniels knew the law. A trained K9's response to a scent signature was admissible as probable cause for a search. It had held up in court hundreds of times. Tom's protest was futile. "Stand up," Officer Chen commanded. Tom didn't move. For a moment, it looked like he was going to resist, going to force them to physically lift him from the floor. But then something seemed to break inside him. His shoulders sagged. He pushed himself up slowly, his hands trembling visibly now. Officer Chen positioned herself in front of Tom while Officer Daniels kept Rex alert and ready. If Tom made any sudden moves, any attempt to run or attack, Rex would be on him in an instant. It was a coordinated dance that the two officers had performed dozens of times before. They moved with the efficiency of professionals who understood the dangers they were facing. "Jacket off," Officer Chen said. Tom hesitated for just a moment, then slowly removed his gray jacket. Officer Chen took it, running her hands over the fabric, checking the pockets, feeling for anything unusual. Her fingers found something in the inner breast pocket, something hard, something that didn't belong in a jacket worn by someone just heading to work. Officer Chen's hand froze. She looked at Officer Daniels. Their eyes met for just a fraction of a second, but it was enough. Both of them understood in that moment that whatever they were about to discover, it was going to be significant. Officer Chen pulled her hand back out of the pocket, and what she withdrew made the entire lobby go completely silent. It was a small metallic device, about the size of a lighter, with wires and a digital display. Officer Daniels felt his stomach drop. He'd seen enough training scenarios, enough briefings, enough potential threat assessments to recognize what he was looking at. The implications crashed over him like a wave. This wasn't just a suspicious person. This wasn't just someone with contraband. This was something far more dangerous. This was the kind of thing that made your blood run cold. "Oh my God," someone in the crowd whispered. Tom's face had gone completely white. His lips were moving, but no sound was coming out. His eyes were fixed on the device in Officer Chen's hand, and they were wide with something that looked like desperation mixed with resignation. "What is this?" Officer Chen demanded, her voice sharp and commanding. Tom's mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. "I can explain," he said. "Please, I can explain everything." But Officer Daniels was already thinking several steps ahead. He was thinking about the building. He was thinking about the 42nd floor. He was thinking about the fact that Tom had been desperately trying to reach that elevator, that specific elevator, at that specific time. And he was thinking about what Rex had detected. Not just the device, but something else. Something about Tom himself. Something about his intent. Something about the danger he represented. What Officer Daniels didn't know, what none of them knew, was that Tom's confession was about to reveal a truth far more terrifying than anyone had anticipated. Because Tom wasn't acting alone, and the real danger wasn't in Tom's pocket. The real danger was already in motion. It was already happening. It was unfolding on the upper floors of this building, and every second that passed was another second closer to catastrophe. What Officer Daniels didn't know was that Tom's secret was far more sinister than anyone could have imagined. The device sat in Officer Chen's palm like a piece of evidence from a nightmare. The lobby had transformed into something between a crime scene and a pressure cooker. The morning light streaming through the glass doors seemed to mock the gravity of what was happening. Somewhere in the building, people were still going about their day, completely unaware that everything had just changed. Tom's breathing was rapid and shallow. His hands were shaking so badly that Officer Daniels was concerned he might collapse. But there was something else in Tom's expression now. Something beyond panic. There was a kind of desperate urgency, as if he had something critical to say and was running. Out of time to say it. I need to talk, Tom said, his voice cracking. I need to explain. Please. You don't understand what's happening. Officer Chen's grip on the device tightened. Start talking, she said coldly. And it better be good. Officer Daniels kept Rex in his alert position, but he was also watching Tom carefully now, trying to read him, trying to understand the layers beneath the panic. In his 3 years of police work, he'd learned that panic came in different flavors. There was the panic of someone caught doing something wrong. And then there was the panic of someone who was caught in something bigger than themselves. Someone who was trapped. Someone who was desperate to be understood. Tom's panic felt like the latter. My name is Tom Richardson, he began, his words tumbling out in a rush. I work in IT at Meridian Financial on the 42nd floor. I've worked there for 2 years. I'm not a criminal. I'm not a bad person. He stopped, swallowing hard. I just made a terrible mistake. What kind of mistake? Officer Daniels asked, his voice steady and professional. He was already radioing for additional units, for bomb squad specialists, for whoever needed to be here given what they were looking at. I was contacted 3 weeks ago, Tom continued, his eyes darting between the two officers. Through email, anonymous. They said they had information about me. Private information. They said if I didn't help them, they would release it. They said it would destroy my life. Officer Chen exchanged a glance with Officer Daniels. This was starting to sound like blackmail. Coercion. The kind of situation that made people do things they would never normally do. What kind of information? Officer Chen pressed. Tom's face flushed. His eyes dropped to the floor. Personal, he said quietly. The kind of thing that would humiliate me, that would cost me my job, that would... He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Officer Daniels understood. Blackmail worked because it exploited shame. It exploited fear. It exploited the things people desperately wanted to keep hidden. So you agreed to help them, Officer Daniels said, not as a question, but as a statement of fact. Tom nodded miserably. They told me I just had to plant this device in a specific location on the 42nd floor. That's all. Just plant it and leave. They said it was for a security test. They said it was completely harmless. They said no one would get hurt. The lobby had gone even quieter, if that was possible. The few remaining onlookers were frozen in place, their phones out, probably recording, probably already posting to social media. Within minutes, this story would be everywhere. Where exactly, on the 42nd floor? Officer Chen asked, her voice sharp and focused. The server room, Tom said. There's a server room on the east side of the 42nd floor. They said to place it behind the main server rack in the corner, where it wouldn't be visible. They said it was just a test. They said they lied. Officer Daniels interrupted. He was already thinking through the implications. A device in a server room. A device that looked like what was in Officer Chen's hand. A device that Tom had been desperately trying to get to the 42nd floor before being stopped by a police dog. This wasn't a security test. This was something far more sinister. I know, Tom said, his voice breaking. I know they lied. That's why I'm here. That's why I came back. I realized what I'd done. I realized what that device actually was. And I came back to try to stop it. I came back to try to undo it before... He stopped, his eyes widening. Before what time is it? Officer Daniels checked his watch. 9:04 a.m. Tom's face went pale. Oh, God, he whispered. Oh, God, we're running out of time. The device is supposed to activate at 9:30, that's what they told me. 9:30 a.m., If it activates, if the server room goes down, the entire financial system for the Eastern Seaboard could be compromised. We're talking about trillions of dollars in transactions. We're talking about, okay, Officer Chen said, raising her hand. Slow down. You're telling us that someone forced you to plant an explosive device in the server room, and it's set to go off in... She checked her own watch. 26 minutes. Tom nodded frantically. Yes. No. I don't know if it's explosive. They never said. They just said it was a device. They said it would cause a shutdown. But I don't know what that means. I don't know what it actually does. I just know I made a terrible mistake, and I need to fix it. Officer Daniels was already moving. He was already radioing the situation up the chain of command. Bomb squad, building evacuation, lockdown of the 42nd floor. All of it happening simultaneously, all of it urgent, all of it critical. But there was a problem. Who contacted you? Officer Daniels asked, still speaking into his radio but keeping his focus on Tom. Who's behind this? Tom's expression shifted. The desperation was still there, but now it was mixed with something else. Fear. Real, visceral fear. The kind of fear that came from knowing you'd crossed someone dangerous. I don't know, Tom said. I never knew. All the communication was through encrypted email. They never identified themselves. They never showed their face. I just knew that they had access to information about me, private information, and that they were serious about using it if I didn't cooperate. But you came back, Officer Chen said, studying Tom carefully. You came back to stop it. Why? What changed? Tom's eyes were glistening now. Tears were forming. Because I realized what I'd done. Because I realized that I'd helped someone plan something that could hurt people. Innocent people. People just coming to work, just trying to do their jobs. I couldn't live with that. I couldn't just walk away and pretend I didn't know what was happening. It was a moment of moral clarity. Officer Daniels recognized it. He'd seen it before, criminals or people forced into criminal situations who suddenly realized the weight of what they'd done and couldn't carry it anymore. Sometimes they came forward. Sometimes they tried to make it right. Tom was trying to make it right. But the clock was ticking. We need to get to that server room, Officer Daniels said to Officer Chen. We need to locate that device and neutralize it before 9:30. Officer Chen was already moving, already coordinating with the dispatcher, already calling for the bomb squad and the building's security team. The lobby was beginning to fill with activity now. More police officers arriving, security personnel mobilizing, the building's emergency response team being activated. But there was still the question of Tom's credibility. Was he telling the truth? Or was this some kind of elaborate setup? Was Tom the real threat, and the device was just a cover story? Officer Daniels looked at Rex. The dog was still alert, still focused on Tom, but not in an aggressive way. It was the kind of focus that suggested Tom wasn't an immediate physical threat. Rex's alert had been about the device, about the danger Tom represented, but not about Tom himself being someone who needed to be physically restrained. We're going to need you to come with us, Officer Daniels said to Tom. We're going to need you to show us exactly where you placed that device, and we're going to need you to tell us everything you know about who contacted you. Tom nodded eagerly. Yes, I'll help. I'll do whatever it takes to fix this. Officer Chen had already called for an elevator, a secure elevator that would bypass the normal traffic and take them directly to the 42nd floor. The building's security chief was meeting them there. The bomb squad was already en route, their vehicles screaming through the city with lights flashing and sirens wailing as Officer Daniels escorted Tom toward the elevator. He couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something, that there was a piece of the puzzle that didn't quite fit. Tom's story made sense on the surface, but there were questions. Who had blackmailed him? How had they gotten access to his private information? And most importantly, why? What was the end game? The elevator doors opened. Officer Daniels, Officer Chen, Tom, and Rex stepped inside. As the doors slid shut, Officer Daniels caught a glimpse of the lobby below. The crowd of onlookers, the police officers securing the scene, the building beginning its evacuation procedures. The elevator began to rise. 22 minutes, Officer Chen said quietly, checking her watch. Tom was trembling visibly now. His hands were clasped together so tightly, his knuckles had turned white. He was staring at the floor numbers as they climbed. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 42. The elevator slowed. The doors began to open. And that's when Tom's face went completely white. "That's not right," he whispered. "What's not right?" Officer Daniels demanded. "The security door," Tom said, pointing. "It's open. The security door to the floor is open. It's supposed to be locked. It's always locked. No one should be able to access this floor without a key card." Officer Daniels felt his stomach drop. His hand went to his weapon. Officer Chen did the same. Because they both understood in that moment what Tom was just realizing. Tom wasn't the only person who had been forced into this situation. Tom wasn't the only one involved. And whatever was happening on the 42nd floor, it was far more complex, far more dangerous, and far more orchestrated than anyone had anticipated. But Officer Daniels had no idea that Tom's revelation was just the tip of an iceberg that would soon reveal itself to be far more catastrophic than anyone could have possibly imagined. The elevator doors slid open to reveal a floor that should have been bustling with activity. Instead, it was eerily quiet. The hallway stretched out before them, sleek, modern, lined with glass-walled offices and cubicles. But something was fundamentally wrong. The lights were dimmed. The usual hum of activity was absent. And most telling of all, there wasn't a single person visible. Officer Daniels stepped out first, his hand resting on his weapon, his senses heightened to their maximum. Rex moved with him, the dog's body tense and alert, his nose working overtime to process the unusual environment. Officer Chen followed close behind, her own weapon drawn, her eyes scanning the floor methodically from left to right. Tom stepped out last, and the moment his feet touched the carpet of the 42nd floor, his entire body went rigid. "This is wrong," he whispered. "This is all wrong. There should be people here. It's 9:08 in the morning. The floor should be full of people." Officer Daniels's radio crackled. The dispatcher's voice came through. "Building security reports that the 42nd floor was evacuated 15 minutes ago. No explanation given, no alarm triggered, just a silent evacuation." Officer Daniels and Officer Chen exchanged a look. Someone had known they were coming. Someone had anticipated this. Someone had cleared the floor before the police even arrived. "Which way to the server room?" Officer Daniels asked Tom, keeping his voice low and controlled. Tom pointed down the hallway to the right. "East side, about 200 feet down. There's a locked door marked server room, authorized personnel only." They moved forward, their footsteps echoing in the unnatural silence of the floor. The offices they passed were empty. The cubicles were abandoned. Computers sat on desks with screens still glowing, as if their operators had simply vanished mid-task. Coffee cups sat on tables, still steaming slightly. The evacuation had been recent, very recent. Rex's alert level had intensified. The dog was pulling, slightly on the leash, his nose high, processing scents that Officer Daniels couldn't detect. There was something on this floor. Something that had triggered Rex's senses. Something dangerous. They reached the server room door. It was indeed marked exactly as Tom had described. A heavy steel door with a key card reader and a small window of reinforced glass. Through the window, Officer Daniels could see rows of server racks, blinking lights, the technological heart of Meridian Financial's operations. And something else. There was a person inside the server room. Officer Daniels' weapon came up instantly. Officer Chen did the same. The person inside, a woman, probably in her 50s, with gray hair and a security uniform, looked up at the sound of the weapons being drawn. Her eyes went wide. Her hands shot up in a gesture of surrender. "Don't shoot!" she cried out, her voice muffled by the thick door. "Please, don't shoot!" Officer Daniels kept his weapon trained on her while Officer Chen moved to the key card reader. "How do we open this?" she demanded of Tom. "I don't know," Tom said frantically. "I've never been in the server room. They just told me to place the device behind the main rack. I used my building access card to get through the main security door, but the server room was already open when I got here. I just placed the device where they told me and left." Officer Chen was already on her radio, calling for the building security chief to come to the 42nd floor immediately with the master key card. In the meantime, she kept her weapon trained on the woman inside the server room. "Who are you?" Officer Daniels called through the door. "What's your name?" "Margaret," the woman replied, her hands still raised. "Margaret Chen. I'm the head of building security. Please, you need to understand what's happening. We need you to open this door." Officer Daniels interrupted. "Right now." "I can't," Margaret said, and her voice was shaking. "I can't open it. They locked me in here. They said if I tried to leave, if I tried to call for help, they would—" She stopped, her eyes darting to something off camera, something Officer Daniels couldn't see. "They would what?" Officer Chen demanded. Margaret's face went pale. "They said they would hurt my family. They said they had people watching my house. They said if I didn't cooperate, if I didn't keep people away from this floor, they would—" Her voice broke. She was crying now, tears streaming down her face. Officer Daniels felt the weight of the situation settling on him like a physical force. This wasn't just about a device. This wasn't just about blackmail or coercion. This was organized. This was sophisticated. This was the work of people who had planned this out meticulously, who had anticipated police involvement, who had prepared contingencies. "Is there a device in there?" Officer Chen asked, her voice sharp and focused. Margaret nodded. "Behind the main server rack. In the corner. They made me watch while they planted it. They made me promise not to touch it, not to move it, not to do anything except keep people away from this floor." Officer Daniels was already calling for the bomb squad to expedite their arrival. The clock was ticking. They had approximately 20 minutes before the device was supposed to activate at 9:30. 20 minutes to locate it, analyze it, and neutralize it. The sound of running footsteps echoed down the hallway. The building's security chief, a tall man named David Morrison, came around the corner, his face flushed from exertion. Officer Chen showed him her badge and explained the situation in rapid-fire sentences. Morrison's expression shifted from confusion to horror to grim determination. "I'll get you in," he said, pulling out his master key card. He swiped it across the reader. The door hissed open. Officer Daniels was through the door first, his weapon still drawn, Rex at his side. The server room was exactly as Tom had described. Rows of tall server racks, blinking lights, the gentle hum of cooling systems and electrical equipment. The air was cold, kept that way to prevent the servers from overheating. And in the corner, behind the main server rack, partially hidden from view, unless you knew exactly where to look, was the device. It was larger than the one Tom had been carrying. Much larger. It was a rectangular box approximately the size of a briefcase, with a digital display on its front face. The display showed a countdown timer. 19:47, 19:46, 19:45. Officer Daniels felt his heart rate spike. 19 minutes and 45 seconds until the device activated. 19 minutes until whatever catastrophe this represented came to fruition. "Bomb squad is 12 minutes out," Officer Chen said, reading from her radio. "They're coming in hot." 12 minutes. They had 12 minutes before the bomb squad arrived, and then however long it would take them to analyze the device and figure out how to disable it. They were cutting it close. Very close. Officer Daniels approached the device carefully, keeping his weapon at the ready, keeping Rex close. The dog was alert but not aggressive, which suggested there was no immediate physical threat in the room. But the device itself was a threat. The device was the danger. Tom had moved into the server room as well, staying close to Officer Chen, his eyes fixed on the countdown timer with an expression of pure horror. "This isn't what they told me," Tom whispered. "This isn't what they said it would be. They said it was just a test device. They said, they lied," Officer Daniels said flatly. He was studying the device, trying to understand its construction, trying to see if there were any obvious ways to disable it. But it was beyond his expertise. This was a job for specialists. This was a job for the bomb squad. Margaret was still in the corner of the server room, her hands still raised, her body shaking, with fear and adrenaline. Officer Chen was keeping an eye on her, making sure she didn't do anything sudden or unexpected. "Why did they make you evacuate the floor?" Officer Daniels asked Margaret. "They said if people were here when the device activated, there could be injuries," Margaret replied, her voice hollow. "They said the electromagnetic pulse would be powerful enough to cause harm if people were in proximity to it. They said evacuating the floor was a way to minimize casualties." Officer Daniels felt something click into place in his mind. An electromagnetic pulse. That's what the device was designed to produce. Not an explosion, not a traditional bomb. An EMP. Something that would fry the servers, corrupt the data, bring down the financial system that Meridian Financial depended on. But why? Who would want to do this? And more importantly, how was Tom involved? How was Margaret involved? What was the end game? "We need to know who contacted you," Officer Daniels said to Tom, his voice urgent. "We need to know who's behind this. Names, descriptions, anything you can remember." Tom's face was pale. His hands were shaking. "I told you, I never knew. It was all through encrypted email. They never identified themselves. They never." He stopped suddenly, his eyes widening. "Wait. There was something. In the last email, the one where they gave me the final instructions, there was a phrase they used that I recognized from somewhere." "What phrase?" Officer Chen demanded. "The house always wins," Tom said. "They said the house always wins in reference to the financial system. They said the house always wins until someone decides to change the rules." I recognized that phrase because I'd heard it before. In a meeting. A business meeting. Officer Daniels leaned forward. "What kind of meeting?" "A meeting at Meridian Financial," Tom said. "About 6 months ago. There was a presentation about market manipulation, about how certain financial institutions had been gaming the system for years, about how the wealthy were rigging the game against everyone else. And one of the presenters, a woman named Dr. Sarah Vance, she's a financial analyst here. She said that exact phrase. The house always wins until someone decides to change the rules. Officer Daniels felt the pieces beginning to align. Dr. Sarah Vance, a financial analyst, someone with access to the building, someone with knowledge of the systems, someone with a motivation, a belief that the financial system was rigged and needed to be disrupted. "Where is Dr. Vance?" Officer Daniels asked Margaret. Margaret's eyes widened. "I don't know. She was on this floor this morning. She came in early before most people arrived. She went into the server room around 8:45. She was in here with the person who planted the device. Then they left, and I was locked in here with instructions not to let anyone else in." Officer Daniels was already radioing down to the lobby, asking them to locate Dr. Sarah Vance, to see if she'd left the building or if she was still somewhere inside. The dispatcher came back moments later with an update. Dr. Vance had not signed out at the security desk. She was still in the building. But where? Officer Daniels looked at the countdown timer on the device. 17 on to 32. 17 or 31. 17 to 30. 17 and a half minutes until the device activated. 17 and a half minutes until the financial system went down. 17 and a half minutes to find Dr. Sarah Vance and figure out what her endgame was. Because Officer Daniels was beginning to understand that this wasn't just about disrupting the financial system. This was about something more, something personal, something that had driven Dr. Vance to orchestrate this elaborate scheme, to blackmail people into helping her, to put an entire building at risk. And somewhere in the building, she was waiting, watching, preparing for the moment when her plan came to fruition. Officer Daniels' hand went to his radio. "All units, we have a suspect. Dr. Sarah Vance, female, approximately 55 years old, works in financial analysis on the 42nd floor of Riverside Corporate Tower. She is considered extremely dangerous. She is believed to be still in the building. All units converge in search. This is priority 1. The response was immediate. Units began moving. The building was being locked down. Every exit was being covered. Dr. Sarah Vance couldn't escape. But Officer Daniels was beginning to realize that escape might not be her goal at all. Officer Daniels was about to discover that Dr. Sarah Vance's plan was far more sinister than anyone had anticipated, and that the real danger was only just beginning. The bomb squad arrived on the 42nd floor at 9:19 a.m., 11 minutes before the device was scheduled to activate. They moved with the practiced efficiency of professionals who had trained for this exact scenario countless times. 2 specialists in full protective gear, accompanied by their equipment and their expertise, entered the server room with a sense of controlled urgency. Officer Daniels stepped back, giving them space, watching as they approached the device with the careful precision of surgeons. Rex remained at his side, alert but calm, understanding that the immediate threat was being assessed by specialists. The lead bomb technician, a woman named Detective Lisa Huang according to her name tag, examined the device without touching it. She pulled out a portable scanner, running it over the exterior of the box, analyzing the electromagnetic signature, looking for any hidden triggers or secondary devices. "It's an EMP generator," she said after a moment, her voice muffled slightly by her protective mask. "Military-grade components, sophisticated. Whoever built this knew what they were doing. This isn't some amateur operation." Officer Daniels felt his chest tighten. Military grade. That suggested resources, expertise, connections. This was bigger than just a disgruntled financial analyst. This was something organized, something with backing. "Can you disable it?" Officer Chen asked. Detective Huang was studying the device more closely now, her partner taking photographs and video for documentation. "Possibly," she said. "But I need to understand the trigger mechanism first. If I cut the wrong wire, if I disable the wrong system, it could accelerate the activation sequence. These devices are designed with redundancies, with fail-safes that are actually fail triggers." The countdown timer continued its inexorable march toward 0. 15, 23, 15, 22, 15, 21. Officer Daniels' mind was racing. While the bomb squad worked on the device, he needed to find Dr. Sarah Vance. He needed to understand her motivation. He needed to know if there were other devices, other threats, other pieces of this puzzle that they hadn't yet discovered. "I'm going to search the floor," Officer Daniels said to Officer Chen. "Keep an eye on things here. Call me the moment anything changes." Officer Chen nodded, understanding the urgency. Officer Daniels left the server room with Rex, moving back out into the hallway of the 42nd floor. The building's security chief, David Morrison, was still there, along with 2 additional security officers. "Has anyone seen Dr. Sarah Vance?" Officer Daniels asked them. Morrison shook his head. "No sign of her. We've checked all the exits. We've checked the bathrooms. She's either still in the building or she found a way to leave that we don't know about." Officer Daniels considered this. The building was locked down. All exits were being monitored. But that didn't mean there weren't ways to leave that weren't being monitored. Service elevators, maintenance tunnels, roof access. There were always ways if you knew the building well enough. And Dr. Sarah Vance had worked here for how long? Long enough to know the building intimately. Long enough to plan an escape route. "I need blueprints of this building," Officer Daniels said to Morrison. "I need to see every possible exit, every tunnel, every passage. Everything." Morrison pulled out his tablet, quickly accessing the building's architectural plans. He spread them out, showing Officer Daniels the layout of the 42nd floor and the floors above and below. There were indeed service passages. There was a maintenance tunnel that connected to the building next door. There was roof access via a maintenance stairwell. Officer Daniels was studying the blueprints when Rex suddenly went rigid. The dog's entire body tensed. His ears perked up, his nose lifted, catching a scent that Officer Daniels couldn't detect. "What is it, boy?" Officer Daniels asked, his hand moving to his weapon. Rex pulled forward, toward the maintenance stairwell at the far end of the floor. The dog's alert was clear and unmistakable. There was someone, in that stairwell. Officer Daniels moved quickly, drawing his weapon, moving toward the stairwell with Rex leading the way. Officer Chen emerged from the server room, understanding that something had changed, that something had shifted. The maintenance stairwell door was heavy and industrial. Officer Daniels pulled it open carefully, his weapon ready, Rex at his side. The stairwell was dimly lit, the concrete walls echoing with the sound of their movement. And then Officer Daniels heard it. A voice, coming from above, coming from the roof access. "Officer Daniels?" The voice called down, calm and measured and eerily composed. "I assume that's who you are. The officer who brought the police dog. The officer who stopped Tom from completing his task." Officer Daniels looked up the stairwell. At the top, silhouetted against the light coming from the roof access door, was a figure, a woman, Dr. Sarah Vance. "Come up here," she continued. "Come up here and talk to me. Please, I want you to understand why I did this. I want you to understand what this is really about. Officer Daniels' instinct was to call for backup, to surround her, to force her to surrender. But something in her voice, something in the way she spoke, suggested that she wanted to talk, that she had something to say, that understanding her motivation might be key to understanding the entire situation. "Stay here," he said to Officer Chen, who had followed him into the stairwell. "Keep monitoring the bomb squad. Call me if anything changes." Officer Chen started to protest, but Officer Daniels was already moving up the stairs, Rex at his side, his weapon drawn but not raised. He climbed carefully, his senses heightened, ready for anything. He emerged onto the roof of the Riverside corporate tower. The wind was stronger up here, whipping across the expanse of concrete and machinery. The city sprawled out below them, buildings and streets, and the tiny figures of people going about their lives, completely unaware of the drama unfolding 42 stories above them. Dr. Sarah Vance was standing near the edge of the roof, her back to Officer Daniels, looking out over the city. She was a woman in her mid-50s, with gray hair pulled back in a neat bun, wearing a simple business suit. She looked professional. She looked composed. She looked like someone who had made peace with whatever she was about to do. "Dr. Vance," Officer Daniels said, his weapon still drawn but at his side. "I need you to step away from the edge and put your hands where I can see them." Dr. Vance turned slowly to face him. There was no weapon in her hands. There was no threat in her posture. Instead, there was something almost serene about her expression. The expression of someone who had already accepted the consequences of their actions. "I'm not going to jump, if that's what you're worried about," she said. "I'm not suicidal. I'm not trying to escape. I'm just standing here, looking at the city I've spent the last 30 years serving, the city I've watched destroy itself from the inside." "Tell me what this is about," Officer Daniels said, moving closer but maintaining a safe distance. Rex was alert but not aggressive, sensing that this wasn't an immediate physical threat. Dr. Vance turned back to look at the city. "Do you know how many people lost their retirement savings in the 2008 financial crisis?" she asked. "Do you know how many people lost their homes? Do you know how many people lost their lives because they couldn't afford health care anymore? Do you know how many families were destroyed because the financial system was rigged?" Officer Daniels didn't answer. He knew the answer. Everyone knew the answer. "Millions," Dr. Vance continued. "Millions of people suffered because a handful of financial institutions decided that profit was more important than people. And do you know what happened to those institutions? Do you know what happened to the people who orchestrated the crisis?" "They were bailed out," Officer Daniels said quietly. "Exactly," Dr. Vance said, her voice rising slightly. "They were bailed out with taxpayer money, money that came from the people they had just destroyed. And the people responsible? They got bonuses. They got promotions. They got to keep their jobs and their wealth and their power. It was the most obscene injustice I've ever witnessed." She turned to face Officer Daniels again. "I worked in that system for 30 years. I watched it happen. I watched good people get crushed. I watched families get destroyed. And I did nothing. I just collected my paycheck and went home and pretended I didn't know what was happening." "So you decided to blow up the financial system," Officer Daniels said, not as an accusation, but as a statement of fact. "I decided to disrupt it," Dr. Vance corrected. "To expose it. To force people to see what's really happening. The EMP will take down the servers. It will corrupt the data. It will force a reset of the entire financial system. And when they try to rebuild it, when they try to restore the data, They'll find something else. Officer Daniels felt a chill run down his spine. What will they find? Evidence, Dr. Vance said. Proof of the manipulation, proof of the rigging, proof of decades of corruption and fraud. I've spent the last 3 years gathering it, organizing it, preparing it for release. Once the system goes down, once the EMP does its job, the evidence will be released to every major news outlet simultaneously. The truth will come out. Finally. And the people who get hurt in the process? Officer Daniels asked. The people whose bank accounts are frozen? The people who can't access their money? The people whose lives are disrupted? They'll suffer temporarily, Dr. Vance said. But they'll recover. And in the process, they'll understand what millions of people have already suffered. They'll understand what it feels like to be powerless. They'll understand what it feels like to be victimized by a system that doesn't care about them. Officer Daniels understood now. This wasn't about financial gain. This wasn't about personal revenge. This was about ideology. This was about Dr. Vance's belief that the system was so fundamentally broken that it needed to be destroyed and rebuilt from scratch. There's a bomb squad down there right now trying to disable your device, Officer Daniels said. They're going to stop it from activating. Dr. Vance smiled sadly. No, they're not, she said. Because there's a second device, a smaller one, hidden in the main electrical panel for the building. If anyone tries to disable the first device, if they cut the wrong wire or trigger the wrong mechanism, the second device will activate automatically. And the second device isn't just an EMP. The second device is something far more destructive. Officer Daniels felt his stomach drop. A second device. Of course there was a second device. Of course this was more complicated than anyone had anticipated. Where is it? Officer Daniels demanded, already moving toward the stairwell, already reaching for his radio. In the basement, Dr. Vance said. In the electrical room, behind the main transformer. And before you ask, no, I won't tell you the exact location or how to disable it. Because if I do, you'll think you can stop me. You'll think you can prevent this from happening. But you can't. The only way to prevent the catastrophe is to let the EMP activate naturally, to let the system reset on its own terms. Officer Daniels was already on his radio, calling for officers to search the basement, calling for the bomb squad to be informed of the second device, calling for evacuation of the building to be accelerated. But even as he was making the calls, he understood the terrible logic of Dr. Vance's plan. She had created a situation where any attempt to stop her would only make things worse. She had made it impossible to prevent the catastrophe without accepting the catastrophe. It was a trap, a brilliant, horrible trap. And Officer Daniels had walked right into it. Officer Daniels was about to discover that Dr. Vance's plan had one final twist, one that would change everything he thought he knew about the situation. The air on the rooftop felt charged with a sense of urgency as Officer Daniels processed Dr. Sarah Vance's chilling confession. Every second counted now, and time was slipping away fast. The countdown timer in the server room continued its relentless march toward 9:30 a.m., while a second device lurked in the basement, poised to unleash chaos. You're making a mistake, Dr. Vance, Officer Daniels said, his voice steady yet urgent. You think this will bring about change, but it won't. It will only create more victims, more suffering. Dr. Vance met his gaze, her expression a mixture of sadness and determination. Sometimes change requires sacrifice, officer. Sometimes the only way to wake people up is to show them the consequences of their ignorance. They need to understand what the system has done to them. They need to take back their power. He could see the conviction in her eyes, a conviction he recognized from his own experiences in law enforcement. The belief that the ends justified the means. But this was a line he couldn't cross, and he wouldn't let her cross it. "You're wrong," he said, taking a step closer. "You don't have to sacrifice innocent lives to make your point. We can find another way." "Can you?" Dr. Vance asked, her voice softening. "Can you stop what's already in motion? Can you prevent the people at the top from continuing to exploit the system? Because I don't think you can. I don't think anyone can." He hesitated. Dr. Vance had a point, one he couldn't ignore. The financial system was deeply flawed, but her method of exposing it was reckless and dangerous. "I can prevent this," he said firmly. "But I need your help. I need you to tell me where the second device is." Dr. Vance shook her head. "You don't understand, officer. If you try to stop it, you'll only make things worse. The second device is designed to go off if the first one is tampered with. It's a failsafe. Once the clock runs out, the EMP will activate, and everything will reset. The truth will come out. The world will see the corruption laid bare. Then help us do this the right way," he urged, desperation creeping into his voice. "Help us expose the truth without violence, without destruction. It's not too late to turn back." For a moment, she looked conflicted, her resolve wavering just a fraction. But then, the determination returned, hardening her features. "I can't allow that to happen. I have to see this through." Suddenly, the radio crackled to life in his pocket. "Officer Daniels, this is Officer Chen. We need you back in the server room, now." He pulled out the radio, his heart racing. "What's happening?" "Detective Huang has made a breakthrough with the first device. But we're running out of time. You need to come back. We might be able to neutralize it if we can get the right information about the second device." "I'm on my way," he shouted, turning back toward the stairwell. Rex was already bounding ahead, eager to return to the action. As they descended the stairs, Officer Daniels couldn't shake the feeling that Dr. Vance was still a threat. She had created a plan that was as brilliant as it was dangerous. And now she had the potential to unleash chaos on a scale that could devastate countless lives. When he reached the server room, the atmosphere was tense. Detective Huang was kneeling next to the device, her hands deftly working with wires and tools, her partner documenting everything. "Detective, what's the status?" he asked, scanning the room for signs of trouble. "We've identified the primary trigger mechanism," Huang said without looking up. "It's a pressure-sensitive switch. If we can cut the right wires without triggering the failsafe, we might be able to disable the EMP." "Any news on the second device?" Officer Chen asked, stepping forward. "None yet," Huang replied, her brow furrowing in concentration. "But if Dr. Vance's claims are accurate, and there's a second device set to activate if we tamper with this one, we need to move quickly." The countdown timer continued its relentless countdown. 9:10, 9:09, 9:08. "Detective," Officer Daniels interjected, urgency creeping into his voice. "What can we do to help?" "Keep an eye on the door," Huang said. "I'll need total focus for this. If we're interrupted, we could trigger the device. If you see anyone coming, call it out immediately." Officer Daniels positioned himself at the door, weapon drawn, eyes scanning the hallway. The lobby felt like a distant memory, the stillness of the 42nd floor now replaced by a palpable tension. "How much time do we have?" Officer Chen asked, looking at the timer. Huang glanced at the device, her hands moving with precision. "Just over 9 minutes. I need to know exactly what I'm dealing with. If there truly is another device in the basement, we have to neutralize it before it activates. We can't risk a double trigger. Then let's figure out where it is, Officer Daniels said, determined. We need to evacuate the building while we still can. If we can get the information from Dr. Vance, we might stand a chance. Suddenly, Rex perked up, his ears twitching. The dog was alert, sensing something that Officer Daniels couldn't detect. "What is it, boy?" he asked, watching as Rex's body went rigid. Before he could process it, the door to the server room swung open. Dr. Vance stood there, holding a small black device in her hand. "I have something you need," she said, her voice steady. But there was a glint of something dangerous in her eyes. "Get back!" Officer Daniels shouted, raising his weapon, but she held up the device as if it were a shield. "This is the backup trigger for the second device," Dr. Vance said. "If you want to stop the second device from activating, you need this." Officer Chen stepped forward, her weapon still raised. "What do you want, Dr. Vance?" "I want you to let the first EMP activate," she said, her voice calm. "And I want to leave this building. You can't stop me, and I don't want anyone else to get hurt. Just let me walk away." "That's not how this ends," Officer Daniels said firmly. "You need to face the consequences of your actions. You can't just walk away from this." Dr. Vance's expression hardened. "Then I'll activate the backup trigger myself. And if I do, the second device will go off, and the EMP won't matter anymore. You'll lose everything." The countdown timer continued to tick down. 8:45, 8:44, 8:43. "Stop," Officer Chen commanded, her voice cutting through the tension. "You don't have to do this. We can find another way." "I'm not letting you take away what I've worked for," Dr. Vance said, her voice rising. "You have no idea how deep the corruption runs. You have no idea what I've sacrificed to get to this point. This is my moment, and I won't let it slip away." Officer Daniels took a step forward, trying to keep things calm. "Dr. Vance, listen to me. You can still make a difference without resorting to violence. You can still expose the truth without hurting anyone." But Dr. Vance's eyes were fierce, unwavering. "You don't understand. I'm beyond reason now. I'm beyond help. This system has crushed too many lives. If I don't act now, nothing will change." "You're wrong," Officer Daniels insisted. "There are other ways. You don't have to sacrifice yourself or anyone else for this." Rex began to growl softly, sensing the rising tension in the room. Officer Daniels kept his gaze locked on Dr. Vance, trying to gauge her next move. He could see the determination in her eyes, the way she held the trigger device as if it were a lifeline. "Put it down," Officer Chen said. "You don't want to do this. We can help you. We can find a way to expose the truth without destruction." Dr. Vance hesitated, her expression faltering for just a moment. But then the resolve returned. "No, I won't let you take that away from me. You have no idea what I've been through. I won't let you silence me." And with that, she pressed a button on the device. A loud beep echoed through the server room. Officer Daniels' heart dropped. "No." But it wasn't too late. He lunged forward, closing the distance between them in an instant. He tackled Dr. Vance, knocking the device from her hand just as it began to light up. The two of them fell to the ground, struggling for control. "Get the device!" Officer Chen shouted, rushing to grab it as it skidded across the floor. Officer Daniels wrestled with Dr. Vance, trying to pin her down. She was surprisingly strong, fueled by adrenaline and desperation. "You don't understand," she shouted, her voice rising. "This is bigger than you. This is bigger than all of us. But Officer Daniels wasn't listening. He was focused on stopping her, on preventing the worst from happening. In the midst of the struggle, Officer Chen reached the black device. She grabbed it, her eyes wide with determination. "I got it!" she shouted. The timer on the original device continued to count down. 7-12, 7-11, 7-10. "Let me go!" Dr. Vance screamed, trying to break free from Officer Daniels's grip. "You don't know what you're doing?" "Yes, I do," he shouted back, struggling to keep her pinned. "You're trying to destroy lives. You're trying to hurt innocent people." The device in Officer Chen's hands was still beeping, but she quickly assessed it, her training kicking in. "Detective Huang," she called out. "Is this the backup trigger for the second device?" "It is," Huang shouted back, her voice urgent. "If it activates, we're done for. You have to neutralize it." "How?" Officer Chen shouted. Huang was already moving, her hands reaching for tools. "Cut the red wire. It will disable the circuit, but you have to do it now." Officer Chen's heart raced as she looked at the device. "I need to know which one is the red wire." Rex was still alert, watching the commotion, the tension in the air, palpable. Officer Daniels struggled to keep Dr. Vance pinned, aware that time was running out. "Let me go," she shouted again, her voice frantic. "You'll regret this." "Not if I can help it," Officer Daniels responded, holding her down with all his strength. "You're not going to hurt anyone else." Officer Chen took a deep breath, knowing the stakes. She focused on the device, scanning for the red wire among a tangle of connections. "I see it. I see the red wire." "Cut it!" Huang shouted, urgency lacing her voice. With trembling hands, Officer Chen reached for the wire, her heart pounding in her chest. This was it. One wrong move could mean disaster. Just as she prepared to cut the wire, the timer continued its countdown. 6-2, 6-1, 6-9. "Now," Huang yelled. With determination, Officer Chen cut the red wire. There was a sudden silence in the room, the beeping stopping altogether. Officer Daniels felt a surge of relief wash over him. "Did it work?" Huang nodded, her expression serious. "We need to check the status of the original device. If the second device was connected to this one, we may have prevented a disaster." "Get the bomb squad in here," Officer Daniels called out, still keeping Dr. Vance pinned down, his weapon still drawn. As the bomb squad entered, Officer Chen quickly explained the situation, showing them the device and the wires. Huang took charge, guiding them through the process of assessing the original device. "Status check," Huang said, her voice steady. "Did we neutralize the threat?" The technician immediately began examining the EMP generator, his hands moving swiftly over the device. "Looks like the primary trigger was disabled," he said, relief evident in his voice. "But we need to make sure there aren't any secondary fail-safes before we call it clear." Officer Daniels finally released Dr. Vance, standing up and stepping back as the bomb squad worked. Dr. Vance remained on the ground, her expression a mixture of anger and defeat. "You think you've won," she said, her voice low. "But you haven't. The truth will come out and you can't stop it." "But we can stop you," Officer Daniels replied, his voice firm. "We can prevent this from happening again." Dr. Vance glared at him, the fire in her eyes unyielding. "You don't understand. This system will crush you just like it crushed me. You can't fight it." "And we won't stop fighting," he said, determination in his voice. "We'll expose the truth the right way. We'll work to make real change without resorting to violence." As the bomb squad technicians continued their work, Officer Daniels felt a sense of hope wash over him. They had prevented catastrophe today. They had stopped Dr. Vance's plan from coming to fruition. And in the process, they had exposed the flaws in the system. Flaws that needed to be addressed, flaws that needed to be fixed. But the battle wasn't over. The fight for justice, for accountability, for truth, it was a continuous struggle. And he was ready to face it head on. But even as the immediate threat was neutralized, Officer Daniels knew that the fight against corruption and injustice had only just begun.